So hi everybody, welcome to this session on Fast Track Your Career in Tech Roles. My name is Rashim Mogha. I'm Senior Director of OCI, Oracle Cloud Infrastructure Product Management, where I basically am a cloud evangelist. I get an opportunity to talk to cloud enthusiasts about how to move to cloud, share use cases, customer case studies, and basically articulate the comprehensive product features and services into articulable business benefits. So that's what my background is. For those of you who would like to connect with me, my social media details are there: Twitter handle, YouTube channel, my website, and also the link to my book, Fast Track Your Leadership Career. So what are we going to talk about today? We're going to talk about a little bit about my journey, because I think it's important for everybody to understand why I'm presenting this session today. We'll talk about scouting job roles in industries. So what does technical roles mean, and how can you expand your horizon when it comes to looking at technical roles? Then we're going to also talk about investing in yourself, both from a leadership perspective as well as from functional skills perspective. We're going to talk about how to build your brand and then nurture your network. We have limited time today, so I'll try to give you as much information as possible. Please note that during the course of this presentation and talk today, we are also going to give away some freebies. There are going to be free cloud credits that we are going to pass around. There's going to be free access to 5 of my Alexa skills that I have out there, and also some other information. So stay tuned for all that good information. Okay, well, my journey. So I started off as a software developer about 15 years ago, and like every computer science student, as they come out, my dream was to be in the engineering roles. But I was lucky to get an opportunity very early on in my career, about 6 months into my professional practice, to contribute to a book. And as I started writing that book, I realized how much I enjoyed doing that. So then I gravitated towards training and certification and bringing in technical curriculum development into my job portfolio. So I have had an experience of working at VMware, AWS, and now at Oracle in different roles, in different technology roles, specifically around virtualization and cloud computing. And during that time period, I have found ways to be a woman tech evangelist, bringing in more women into technology roles, writing books like Java Web Services, and recently Fast Track Your Leadership Career, which happens to be an Amazon #1 bestseller. We released it about 4 months ago. I also do a lot of talks in the Bay Area, both on cloud evangelism as well as around bringing more women into the leadership roles in the technology industry. So I wanted to share my journey with you because I wanted to highlight that it's not important where you start from. What is important is the different things that you touch upon in your journey and how you bring in that impact as you're going through your career. So with that, let's start talking about scouting job roles in industries. Typically, when I talk to people, people say, I want to work for big companies, like I want to work for Oracle, or I want to work for Amazon Web Services, and I want to stay in technology. But it's important to understand that technology, being in a technology role, is not just about engineering. Product development is just one part of a tech role in the industry. There's also product marketing. So if you have a flair for writing, if you have a flair for marketing, and you want to bring in your technology knowledge into it, product marketing is a great way. Customer success. If you love talking to customers, if you love being in front of the customers, if you're empathetic as an individual, and if you have that empathy for the customer and you have technical background, customer success is another avenue that you want to look at. Customer experience, this is another aspect of it, um, wherein you use your technology knowledge and you bring in the whole idea of how the customer experience is going to be as they go through your product. So then customer enablement, training, certification, how you're going to put out the material out there for the customers. How are you going to educate the customers to adopt a service or a product? Now, one thing that I want to highlight is that product development is actually probably the most easiest part of introducing a product into market or bringing a product into market. The hard part is actually what is your go-to-market strategy going to look like? How are you going to make sure that the product that you have, users see value in that product and users actually adopt that product, right? So that's where the whole customer enablement and customer experience piece comes in. Then documentation is another area, right? You need to be technical enough to be able to understand that if people get stuck, if people have issues, how are they going to troubleshoot? Go to market and release management. If you have flair for project management and you want to blend in with your technology technology skill set, then go to market and release management is another area that you can explore. So bottom line, what I want to bring out over here is don't restrict yourself to just the product development roles. Don't restrict yourself to the engineering roles. There are a lot of roles that are available in the market right now. Everything touches upon technology and each of this is a technical role. So, so start looking at things differently. And there are various job titles that float around in the market too. So when you start looking at it and you see customer success, don't just think that it is someone picking up the phone and just helping people through maybe how to navigate a website. There's a lot more to it. Or customer enablement, don't just think that it's all about developing PowerPoints. There is a lot more to customer enablement than just developing PowerPoints. It's being out in front of the customers. It's helping them design their architecture. It's helping them achieve the goals that they want, the business goals. It's very technical as a role. So look at all these options, go through the job descriptions carefully, and don't discount, don't search for keywords around engineering, just expand your horizons. So now that you know about the job roles, let's talk about some industries as well. Gone are the days when technology industry was all about 5 or 6 companies like Oracle, Amazon, or VMware, or Hitachi, or Intel. There is a lot more now that's available in every industry if you look at from a technology perspective. Look at retail. I'm not sure if you guys know or not, but most of the retail companies now have a huge IT team. And that's because most of these retail companies are now moving online, right? Now conducting so much of their business online. FinTech, FICO, E-Trade, high-tech industries obviously are there. Then oil and gas, non-profit. There's so many non-profits that are running their business on the cloud and on the web. And there are huge, big IT teams that they invest in to run their business. Education, Edcast, big platforms like Pluralsight, lynda.com, all these sites that run their business through the internet, over the internet, are a great place to be in a technology role. Space and astronomy, obviously NASA, a lot of other companies that are coming up that are being contracted out by companies like NASA, where you can actually, organizations like NASA, where you can go in and help them to maybe the next man to moon mission. I actually know someone who is actually working on the next man to moon mission. Then legal aspect is another industry with the cryptocurrency coming in, the whole ethics piece coming in. There is so much of demand now more than ever before of the technology folks to be to be part of the legal industry, and then hospitality. So don't just restrict yourself to specific job roles. Don't restrict yourselves to industries. I would say broaden your search as you start looking at the job roles. So with that basic information, let's move on to how do you go about finding the roles. Now, first and foremost is start investing in yourself. It's extremely important that you block 30 minutes each day to learn new skills, both functional as well as leadership skills. Now, many a times when I talk to individuals or when I'm presenting at conferences, people come to me and say, I want to learn new skills. I want to focus on my technology skills or functional skills. Can you help me understand what are the areas that I should focus on? Because when you talk about technology, it's a huge array of things. Should I focus on programming languages? Should I focus on infrastructure? Should I focus on SaaS? Should I focus on AI? Should I focus on big data? And my response to them always is focus on getting the basics of cloud computing right. And that's very, very important. Because if you really look at it, the global cloud computing market will exceed $20 billion of revenue in 2019. That's a huge amount of money. And LinkedIn actually did a survey earlier last year, and they found that the gap in the cloud computing industry was the biggest skill gap that existed. Now, if you're a developer, if you are an AI or a machine learning person, if you are focusing on big data, if you're focusing on developing apps, for everything, you're going to need the basic knowledge of cloud computing. Because either you're going to work with startups who are going to be greenfield and are going to spin up their architecture in cloud, or you're going to work for enterprises who are thinking about already moving to cloud. So it's extremely important that you develop functional skills and have some basic understanding of cloud computing. And then the other aspect is your leadership skills, because in today's day and age, everybody's a leader. You may or may not be a manager, but you are a leader in any organization that you join in, and organizations expect you to behave as leaders. So as I mentioned at the start of this webinar, we are going to share quite a few freebies with you. The first freebie is I am providing you these two links. These two links are essentially for free training that's available for the participants of this webinar on cloud.oracle.com. Please make a note of these links. Aditya, I think you are also going to provide these links later on as a part of follow-up. So if you can't make a note of this right now, stay tuned for the follow-up email that you'll receive from Aditya. But basically, these three sets of videos that you have are product overview videos on Oracle Cloud Infrastructure. Gives you a basic understanding of what does compute services look like, what do storage services look like, how does networking work in cloud. And the best part is that these are 5 to 7 minute videos, very short. Put it in your playlist and use the time that you have if you're waiting for a client meeting or if you're preparing for an interview to go through these videos. I built it in the cloud. Videos are more around reference architectures. So those of you who want to be or will be focusing on architect roles, SI roles, these are good for you because you can basically understand how some of the customers are actually implementing cloud solutions in their real life scenarios. And then just-in-time videos are basically e-learning series. They provide step-by-step instructions on running various tasks on Oracle Cloud. And then for those of you who feel very confident, there is also a link below to go to Oracle Cloud Infrastructure Architect Associate Certification and take the certification. But essentially all these training videos, and there are about 50 of them in this group, that we are making available for free today for you. Now also, one thing that I always emphasize to people is just knowing about things is not enough. you need to have some hands-on experience. So for example, if you say that you know about cloud computing, you should be able to basically log on to any cloud computing vendor's site and be able to create a small, spin up a compute instance, or create a small infrastructure. And to enable you guys to do that, today I am providing you $300 worth of free credits that are good up to for 3,500 hours for Oracle Cloud. And the link would be shared in the email that will follow after this webinar. But make a good use of this. It's a pretty good amount of money to be able to spin up a small infrastructure to see how compute works, how storage works, how networking can be set up, how you can bring in some element of load balancing, if you will, and IAM policies too. So also, as I mentioned, there is, I'm sorry about that. There is an architect level, associate level certification. It's really important that you invest in some sort of certification in cloud. Specifically, if you're going to go the architect route, it really helps improve your market value. We also have some Jumpstart learning labs, self-paced labs that are available for free. So the links that you're going to have for video will also point you to these free labs. And each of these labs is about $10 to $20, depending on what kind of lab it is. But we are making about 5 labs free for you today. So make good use of it. In terms of leadership resources, I just wrote this book, and it's called Fast Track Your Leadership Career. We talk about a template, investing in yourself, and networking and building your support system are 3 chapters in this book. We also talk about how to identify your superpower, how to navigate work politics, how to build an intellectual support system. So give it a try. It's available on Amazon, and it's also available as a Kindle version. We also have a podcast that we do, weekly podcast. It's a micro podcast. I come from a training and certification industry, so I know that everybody's time is important, and attention span is typically about 5 to 7 minutes. These podcasts are great to learn new things about technology, leadership, mindfulness. I talk a lot about mindfulness in the leadership roles, and happiness, right? And at the end of each of these podcasts, I share a free resource that you can use. So give it a try. It's available on like 10 different channels: Apple, Google Play, Stitcher, Breaker, Anchor. So please download it and subscribe to it and leverage it. Another free resource for you to build your skills. And then, as I also mentioned, I would be providing access to 5 of my free Alexa skills. So if you go, and it's interesting nowadays when I talk about Alexa skills, sometimes people say, but I don't have an Alexa device. I don't have an Echo Dot, or I don't have, I don't have Alexa. And I'm like, do you have a cell phone? And they say, yes. And I said, do you know that you can just download a virtual Alexa on your iPhone and or on your Android device? And people go, wow, I didn't know that. So it's just an app. It's called Amazon Alexa. Just download it on your cell phone. As long as you have an Amazon account, you are free to access any of the skills that are there. I would highly recommend leadership affirmation skill, especially coming from the mindfulness aspect of things. I basically think, with the environment and the world that we live in, there's so much of ambiguity in the corporate environment. There is so much of uncertainty, and so much is changing every day from a technology perspective. We sometimes need to calm down, take a deep breath, and these affirmations help a lot. I actually have a routine. I run my leadership affirmation and detox affirmations in the morning, and in the evening, I have a gratitude affirmations Alexa skill that I run for myself. So enable these skills, leverage, and share it with your friends and family and coworkers, and let me know what you think about them. So that keeps you grounded, brings in mindfulness, and helps you build your your leadership skills. Now, another aspect to this is after you have invested in yourself, you need to start building your brand, right? So when you approach somebody and when you're asking them for a technology role or a role where you're trying to change your direction of your career, it really helps to have a brand out there and have people know you as an individual. So how can you do that? You can do that by the first and the foremost thing is update your LinkedIn profile. And when I say update your LinkedIn profile, many times I see individuals have their LinkedIn profile is a copy paste of their resume. I encourage you to look beyond that. Your LinkedIn profile is an opportunity to tell people what your who you are as an individual. What are your work ethics? What are your beliefs? And how do you help businesses? Right? So reframe your LinkedIn profile to showcase more than what you have done in your career, and try and tell people what you would like to do in your career, where you want to be versus where you are right now, right? So for example, for me, my focus is always going to be around customer enablement. Whatever I do, I know that I will be driving businesses because I'll be enabling customers. So being in training certification, I did that. Being a cloud evangelist, I'm doing that. Being women in technology, I'm doing that. A leader, I'm doing that. With my books, I'm doing that. So anything that I do, it's based on empowering people to be able to use technology and make the best out of it. Also start writing blogs. One popular misconception is that if I put something out there, I'm kind of claiming that I'm an authority in the subject. Remember that when you write blogs, you are essentially putting your thoughts forward. You don't need to be an expert. Do your research, but put across something and ask people for their opinions, and you'll see how much interest it generates. So don't wait. I waited a long time before I felt confident about writing blogs. And then I realized that anytime I wrote something, people actually saw value in that. So don't wait for too long. Everybody has an opportunity to share things. And when you're sharing things on social media, you're basically empowering people. Now, with that said, I typically advise not talking about politics, not talking about personal aspect of things on professional social media sites like LinkedIn. Now, also, if you're a developer, then contribute to open source projects like my Alexa skills. The source code for my Alexa skills is actually available on GitHub. I make it available for everybody and for other Alexa developers who want to go and look at it. I talk a lot about cloud infrastructure on my podcast that I do, Eva podcast and other podcasts that I do, because I want to share my knowledge. So it's all about sharing and putting it out there and empowering others. And then also sign up for volunteering opportunities, especially for women who are technology leaders or who are into technology. Sign up for events in your local area where you can get in touch with other people. You can get in touch with other women leaders and get an opportunity to network. So that's about building your brand. Invite people to actually comment on it, tag people. You'll be surprised how many people are actually willing to help you build your brand as you take that path. But it takes time. Don't expect overnight results, and also carve out time. It's very important. So for example, when I started working on my brand, I would spend I would try to do one blog a month. And that was a good way to start it. There would be times when I would do 4 blogs a month because I had so much to share with people. And there would be other times when I just had, one blog a month. But try to stay consistent, keep at it. It takes time to build your brand, but also know that it's important to build your brand. I was talking to Shweta, who is the talent leader for Amazon Web Services, and she mentioned to me, and she has that story in my book. She contributed into my book as well. But she was talking to me about how building your brand is so important, because when recruiters actually, before they post out stuff or before a job rec is made available, they scout through platforms like LinkedIn to look for people who have already that kind of, who are experts in that area that they are looking for, and they reach out to them directly. So if you haven't invested in building your brand, if you're not out there, then you miss on that opportunity for recruiters approaching you, right? So it's very, very important to ensure that you have a good social media presence and a strong LinkedIn profile. Uh, in my case, I got my first job in the United States through LinkedIn. I had someone whom I connected with. She liked my LinkedIn profile very much. We kept talking for about 6 months, and as soon as a role opened in her organization, she called me and she said, "I have a job for you." And that same person then helped me move to Amazon Web Services when I moved to Amazon Web Services. And then also my job at Oracle Cloud Infrastructure also came through my contacts on LinkedIn. So it's a very powerful platform, I would say, and I want you to make sure that you utilize it. And then last but not the least, network, network, network. I can't emphasize enough on this. When I moved to this country, I thought if I was good enough in the job that I did, everybody would know about it, or my managers would talk about it. They would recommend me for new roles. But I very quickly realized that just doing my job and being great at my job wasn't enough. There was more to it. Now, when you start looking at it, it's important to have sponsors. It's important to look at who is going to help you grow into your next role, or who is going to help you with your next promotion. Now, gone are the days when if you did a great job, your manager would know about it, your manager would put you up for promotion, and voila, you'll get promoted and you'll have your next role. In today's day and age, it's actually whenever, especially in leadership positions, when a person moves from one role to another, there are at least about 5 to 6 people who are stakeholders or sponsors who have an influence. And you need to build that support system, and you need to have that sponsor pool. And to build that sponsor pool, you have to network. We typically think networking is all about socializing, but networking is not socializing. They're two different things. You have to be very strategic about whom you network with. Start off with common areas of interest. Remember that don't try to make the sale in the first meeting. So don't go in the first meeting and say, "Hey, I need a job. Do you have a job for me?" You build your network, you nurture it, and then you kind of leverage it. And remember that with any network, it's going to be a give and take. So you'll have to, it's like a bank. You'll have to deposit some to be able to take out something. And more about this in detail in terms of how to network and how to find your sponsors. I have it available on my eVow platform that's available on my website. I'll have the link shared. And for anybody who is participating today, we're providing access to that platform for free. And also a great deal is covered in my book. So if you get an opportunity, definitely, get the book and read more about it.